commissioners here. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Get used to the flag being made. Step on the way and turn around.
You're welcome to have allegiance to that flag too. All right, we'll start with the August 2nd, 2021 Commissioners Board minutes. Anyone have any changes or corrections?
No.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We have the claims against the county, voucher expense report. I move that we approve them as presented.
I'll second.
Any other comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And then we have payroll. Any changes or anything with those? I move that we approve the payroll.
I'll second.
How are you?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Highway supervisor report. Thank you.
Okay, first up, we have a request for a temporary use and closure of the road. Mark Knudsen came in and wanted to present the Chanelville Derby 4 mile walk and run.
Thank you.
Let's see. It's going to be held on Sunday, September 19th, 2021, during the community picnic. They're requesting the use of the roads along the route beginning at the Chanelville Community Club on Market Street. They'll move east to County Road 800 East and then turn right to the Chanelville Road. From there, they go left down the hill, down the Mill Hill towards Chanel Road, where they'll then travel south to County Road 400 South, and then go back west to Pine Ridge Road, come back north to the Chanelville Road, and then they'll go east and then turn on Elm Street, and then that's where the finish line is. They've done this before, they've got the necessary revision there, so.
You're just requesting use of the road, not closing the road.
Well, it'll be temporary closures, but nothing to where they're gonna have some, interfering. It'll just be, the walk and run where the people are.
Do we have times?
Pardon?
Or were there times? I don't see it on what time.
Begins at 9, the race begins at 9:30.
Probably 9 to 11 now, probably, so, yeah.
The bulk of the Chanelville Road will be on the beginning side of it, for your beginning of the race, so it won't be referring to Chanelville Road is what we call it.
Hi.
And usually they have the fire department there to help manage traffic and make sure that they're protected until the last of the runners are off the road, and then they'll just follow them around. So usually when they get up to an intersection, there'll be someone there patrolling that intersection to allow the walkers and runners to go through and kind of watch traffic there.
Anyone have any concerns about temporary use or closure of the roads? I'll move that we approve the Chanelville Derby 4 mile country run walk on Sunday, September 19th, 2021. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, this Wednesday and Thursday, we're, just as a reminder, we're going to road grader training. It's gonna be August 18th and 19th. Scheduled field work will take place on Elk Creek Road, which is north of the co-op at Phoenix Drive in Huntingburg. And then we're gonna proceed from there to the intersection of Local Road during that training. So the road will be closed between noon and 4 on Wednesday and from 7:30 until 4 on Thursday. So just a reminder.
Is this just for our guys, or do we have people coming in from other areas?
We have 5 of our people. There will be 3 of them from Greene County and 2 of them from Crawford County coming in. Brian Jackson, the heavy equipment training, I think they're from down south. They're the ones putting it on. L-Time's had a lot of success with them. They've a lot of positive comments on it. They should be in Davis County today and tomorrow, and then from there they're coming here. So. Next one, County Road 720 East improvement status. Road widening and stone base application is continuing right now. It's our hope that we will finish the project and resume chip seal work on or around August 30th. So with that, then that road will be completed.
That's one of the roads off of our list of upgrades.
Yes.
Okay. So then, when that one's finished, next we're going down to Holland.
We're going to Holland, 775 West. We started a little bit of shoulder work on that here about a week or so ago. It won't take all that much. I think with that one, we can probably go and also do 550 West, which is where that looks boy. Kind of by Give Vocals off of Keston Bridge Road. We can probably do.
Jim Meyer. Is that Jim Meyer's?
Jim Meyer would be 775.
That's the.
Yeah, so there's a real good possibility both of those can be done next year. Next one up, second round of Aspen application. We begin our final seal coat projects on Monday, August 23rd, weather permitting. Target roads include Club Road from State Road 64 south to the Furman town limits. County Road 825 south from Club Road to State Road 162. Airport Road from County Road 900 south near the terminal office. We'll go south and west out to US 231. Hollow Road southwest from 720 west to 1000 south, and Santine Road from St. Anthony Road north to State Road 164 near Celestine. There'll be no anticipated closures during the work, however minor delays will be expected as all areas will encounter one-lane traffic patrolled by a pace truck that will move them through the work zones. Similar to what we've done before. Any questions on that one? No. Road striping today, we're hopefully if the rain holds off, we're planning on doing some striping today. With the completion of 575 East and Ellsworth Road, we've got a few of those along with a couple of chip seals that'll give us a good year to the road striper. So we're going to begin that. Shoulder stone will then be applied following the painting on those 2 roads. And then next week I'm going to be out of town just for information on the applications. That's all I've got.
Anything the public needs to be aware of with 56 closing today? Out there, as far as detours through county roads or anything, is there? Yes.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good. I don't know.
I'm not, I guess.
Yeah, I drove by 3 days last week and all the asphalt poured. It looks like it'd be fine. I don't know what they have to do to connect one road to the other, how that transition works, but I figured it'd be probably a hassle for someone in the community to go that way. If you worked in French Lick or something.
Yeah, well, we had put some signage up, on County Road $600 because it's anticipated that a lot of that's gonna come through on that gravel road that's in Chanelville Road and then come on down and go down that hill by the Humber property. There's a real sharp 90 and down the hill. If you go onto the top of the hill, you can look across the ravine and see where the road continues, but with that big gap in there, it actually turns left and goes back up again. So it's too much.
I'm familiar with that.
So that's good. Got some signage up there to kind of help alert others, from that situation. So
How long will that be? Will 50-60 plus, do you remember?
I don't recall.
No, they never, and they never gave us a date, and I think that was on purpose, because I don't think they're 100% sure how long it's gonna take. Whenever we did the original agreement, they didn't know what all was gonna be involved. They may have got more work done, I don't know, I haven't talked to NDOT. So.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything on it.
Once asphalt's put down, how soon can people drive on it?
As soon as it's rolled. As soon as the roller goes on top of it, they can drive it.
I don't know if it needed a couple days to cure or
No,
anything or hold
no.
or.
It's good, it can cure out and cool down, but you can drive on it.
No different than when we resurfaced the road.
Rubber tires on a normal car, no big deal. Tractor loads are a different story.
We usually wait with applying shoulder stone until the asphalt does have a chance to cool down, so it's firm on that edge. Outside of that normal traffic.
How's mowing going this year? Besides, because usually I'll get a complaint that you did too much, not enough, too often, not often enough, one of the two. And I haven't heard anything from anybody this year, so I didn't know if it was going better than.
Well, I told our guys, usually the first pass, we'll do one width, just to get everything down at the edge of the road. And then the second pass, we'll do two widths. And I think the last couple of years on the third pass, we were going 3 wide. I told them, because if we're going 3 wide, then it slows our progress down. For the last couple of years, we've started getting calls around August because it started growing up. So I told them, instead of going that third pass, let's just stay 2 passes again and keep that edge down. And when we start getting into the fall, we can go out and hit the banks and start working the trees that way. So we approached it a different way this year. Seems to make a difference.
It seems like, at least in my neck of the woods, that cutting back was more aggressive the last several years, so it probably won't be necessary this year as much. You won't be taking off as many sides of trees. Plus having Townsend and those people doing the electric lines, they cut things back pretty seriously in a lot of areas, so hopefully a lot of that's been taken care of.
Make it easier on us.
Yeah, make it a little easier.
Whoever was mowing over along 230 and Toka Road was doing a good job. Is that grass, is that who was doing that?
That one there would be Kendrick. Gress's route is more like Meridian Road, and then he'll come up into like the Chanelville Road and kind of go around. Down that way.
So I didn't realize they did a nice job. Getting next to the sign posts and the electric posts and they didn't stop 20 feet before they got there and started 20 feet after they. So that's good.
Yeah. Been doing well, and those mowers have been doing well too, so.
We talked a little bit about sanitation this morning. Any concerns there from your point of view? Okay, well, everything was going good.
Yeah, so far they are. We're still working through that vacancy. I'll talk with Mark this morning to kind of go through there and see where we're at, what our options are, and kind of go through there. At some point, we're going to have to, get something figured out and we'll have to there. I want to talk to them first and make sure that we're taking the proper steps. So far so good.
did bring up again of her needing a new location or a facility upgrade in the future. How is the facilities holding for highway department? You also mentioned that a little bit.
We could sure use some room.
That's our,
Just for parking or for storage?
Storage for, yeah, I mean, we
get
got
buildings, get equipment under shelter. A lot of equipment sitting out in the open, exposed to the environment. Just room to expand a little bit. You get more stuff, get pipe, it just tightens everything up pretty quick.
You know that property right across the street from you just sold? All the warehouses?
We talked about that, because I thought it was the one north of there, next to the state highway garage. I thought too, that would be a great buy, but this was the big commercial building up there.
Talking about where they sell watermelons?
No,
That-
where Wayne Electric is.
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but you said
No,
north of.
where, sites, where there's, sites, it's got the property down there, he sells furnaces and,
Okay.
homeowners
Yeah.
sometimes, and what all does he do there, I don't even know. Isn't there
There's an apartment there.
Dove sites, yeah, he's
Yeah, there's an
got
apartment there.
those wood burners and stuff.
But I was mistaken, that was not for sale, it was the, commercial site where Wayne Electric is.
There would have been some buildings there, but not enough ground to, get us to, so we can lay our pipe out and have it stone and
The
probably
ideal
more
was,
sheds to do
the idea was still if some land would become available east or south of us there, where we could just, 5 acres would really.
But it goes a long way.
That would help. Yeah, and I think, I know we had this discussion, probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago already, though. If we're looking to do something, it would probably be in our best interest to kind of look ahead a little bit, try to incorporate maybe where solid waste is into something where we're both together. So they've got room for different things, and if we could purchase or acquire the ground east and south of us, then we could just expand from where we're at, continue to keep our fuel tanks where they are, and then just move out and put some new buildings with a shop and everything, and then solid waste can utilize our facility, for other stuff, so, and it would be more, an easier location to find them, But that's, I'm sure down the road, so. But, I think that would be one thing to put them all together.
That's something to be thinking of though.
Just looking at the same landowner owns
Both
sides of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had some discussions with her
It's full day.
in the past.
Yeah.
She's not interested in a right now, or wanting to do anything, so.
Would you say how long ago was that conversation? 10 years?
That probably pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like Aaron and Andy Longy, Life Estate Agnes,
They have nephews. They have nephews as well. And I had a brief conversation with their mother just a year ago, probably, and she just shared, no, doing like that, that's not gonna happen. I don't know that was necessarily her point of view, but the realization that she had that it wasn't gonna happen.
That would be the ideal scenario. But is what it is.
Thanks.
Okay, first thing is the next round of countywide bridge inspection. So last meeting, we went over the consultant, our contract with the consultant. Now we have to have an agreement with NDOT as far as reimbursement for 80%. I've looked over it, I mean, it's an NDOT contract, our hands are really kind of tied on what they want, unfortunately. Greg reviewed, he didn't see any issues on it either, so I do need approval and signatures for that. Here's a copy from the street to it. I need blue league signatures. That's on my first show.
And this is for our large bridges, not our small structures. We don't get a reimbursement on any of that, do we?
Not our small structures, no. That's not a federal aid program.
I think it was sometime after the last meeting, we closed Jeff Dubois Road to do those culverts. And were we replacing those? I guess I don't know when you replace them and when you don't, is it? Because I mean, I saw a crack over the middle of the road, does that just tell you that it's failing?
Not necessarily. The pipes expand and contract at a different rate in the road. So if it gets real cold, the pipe may expand and may rise, it may crack the road. It's just heaving up and down. That's not normal. That's a tall tale sign where a culvert is,
Yes.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong.
So why didn't we replace those?
Because they were bad. They were all rusted out
Just
culverts.
they were.
Yeah.
Cause I looked at them, it looks like the water's going through, but I saw the road was damaged, so I didn't know if it was,
Not necessarily. It tells you where they're at, but they don't necessarily mean they're bad.
It's our practice that we'll look through those things and, you know, we're hoping that the pavement will last 10, 12 years or so. But if the culverts won't last that long, we want to get them changed out so we're not digging through that road, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to
so are we always using, I don't know what the right word for it is, plastic instead of steel now? Or are we?
I say the tins last longer. It's not for every case. There's lack of cover if you go with metal. If there's plenty of cover, because metal is stronger. But if you get plastic deep enough there, it has cover and you can divert the pressure around the pipe, and plastic's better because it ultimately lasts longer.
And is there ever a place where you just stick a new pipe inside of the old pipe? I mean, I know we do that with some underground stuff,
No,
where you would put a sleeve in or
Yes.
something too.
that's I don't do that. The reason for it is you lose hydraulic capacity for the water to get through. You shrink it down. We're getting rains out. We used to get slow, steady rains. Now we're getting all or nothing. So don't go smaller. Usually go bigger or the same size.
And generally, when pipe fails, it starts to close up.
Yeah, and if it's a metal pipe, it actually tends to rust from the bottom. Actually, it does get bigger, not in the right way. The bottom will rust out.
It's gonna make
Plastic pipe, when it starts to fail, plastic pipe will crush into itself. Yeah. Metal pipe usually will just, well, it's what we notice around here. The bottom just simply will rust out as things.
Theodore Rakita, I've heard him called that before. Tyler Rakita, it says Theodore.
Theodore.
I've never heard that.
That's what you do, all of it, so. I guess I should have.
I guess we need to be formal approval for the.
Nick, I think you signed on the wrong one.
Yeah, really.
No, you didn't, I apologize, no, you're right. I was reading it wrong. I saw Elmer's name, your signature, but that's the other way around.
I
Would you like us to sign the third copy or just not? Does anybody want to keep the third copy?
I had a copy from my files, we don't want, so.
I move that we approve the Indiana Department of Transportation Bridge Inspection Contract.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, bridge crew aluminum forms, we met with Rick on Tuesday of last week. Actually, good news, we were budgetary wise, it's a lot less than what we thought it was gonna be, which is great. He's gonna get I gave him 3 sets of plans of the types of structures we build, He's gonna go through, do a rendering and find out this is what we're gonna need to build our biggest one, and this is what we're gonna need for our smallest one, and we can make a decision from there on what we want, so. I'll know more here in the next week or two. It kind of was promising that I overshot what I thought it was gonna be. Paving projects, you guys can review through there. They've got 575 is done, Ellsworth Road is complete. They're currently working on Jasper DuBois. They laid wedge and level on Friday. I think they're gonna finish that up today and start on surface today. And then they'll keep moving. Division Road is supposed to be next, but there is a project in Harrison County that they need to finish. They're trying to weigh out whether they move out and go get that one in Harrison County done and then come back to ours or what they wanna do. And they're still under plenty of timeline, so I'm not worried from my end on getting that done, but I guess Harrison County under a tight timeline, so they might have to run down there and get that wrapped up. So, not a big deal on my side, but just an update for you, so you guys know where they're at. Calcar and E&P, I know they're both swamped right now, and they gave me, the end of, or middle of September, kind of when they would be in town, so it is what it is, that's fine, I get it. So, that's all I've got. Unless you got anything for me.
A resident down on Old Petersburg Road would like for us to find another bridge to replace because we'd like the quiet, peaceful days when the road was closed. So I said, well, if something happens to that bridge, we know who.
Felt the same way on the Colder field on South. This is kind of nice.
There was a sinkhole?
Yeah.
That one? Yeah, that's great. Do we have any need for the highway staff to stick around for the meeting? I looked on the agenda, I didn't really see it.
We don't see it. I think that's what they gave the equipment, if bombs come in, I'll help her get set up on that stuff, but
Okay,
when I'm done, I'm done, yeah.
so stay as long as you feel necessary.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else, Brent, for Steve? Okay, PSC tower lease renewal. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good.
Be short and sweet. I did send the agreement to the attorney beforehand, have an extra copy if you want. Just in reviewing our contracts and our records, we had done our agreement under internet services and credit line services about a year ago. We didn't have a current contract on file for your tower agreement, so we're currently using that to service customers under the sheriff's tower. So I thought it would be a good idea to put that under a contract that make it coterminous with your existing agreement, so we can cut at the same time. Just do it all at once. So it's really all I'm here for.
It's the same agreement that we've done with them for a number of years. It's just getting things back up to date. Got this somewhere along the line.
Getting things current.
Last one was in 2014.
Was there any issue whenever we moved the tower recently?
I'm not aware of any issues.
So what is your tower? I mean, I read what it says here. It says it provides service and whatnot, but so is it line of sight service that people are getting off of the tower for PSC customers?
Yeah, just for, I think maybe 40 customers, something like that, for people that, obviously we're not here with fiber-based facilities for consumers, so this is a way for some of them to get service.
And a signature on all of these?
Yeah, that's all we can do. That's a signed copy back. Just along here, I'll let you know also, last word I heard is that we should be starting construction in select areas of DuBois County probably in the March timeframe next year. So that's when we expect that to start. Hopefully, of course, that finished by the end of the year, 2022.
And what is that?
If you might recall, we received funding for next level 2
Yes.
grant funding. So that is everywhere around Ireland and Celestine, Chanelville, Birdseye, some other areas too. So just different areas. So we've been engineering that for a while now. We have our names in Spencer County, but we're going to keep moving.
What does that construction look like? Are you like, towers, lines on poles, or?
It'd be mainly pole construction, but it could be it'll be a combination of varying poles. There won't be any towers, right? There's no wireless for it. It's all fiber. It's 100% fiber optic. So it'll be, you'll see people digging on the sides of roads and laying conduit and definitely doing polling. And so I think, Jed, you were at a meeting with my boss, who was also with Orange County, where they were talking with the RAC to figure out the best way to do that, so we're not getting each other's way, as well as these poles, or putting fiber. We have two different carriers putting fiber on poles. Have to make sure these engineered correctly to handle that. So I don't know what those discussions are, to be honest with you. I haven't talked to Jim since we've had that meeting that you were at, but that's the latest.
Do you have any concerns or problems with right of way when you work through those? I mean, if you're on poles, you've already got the REC. Back on that, I guess,
We're really successful. I mean, this, these lines are coming pretty soon. Negotiating those rights away. We do have issues at different times, depending on whether it's an environmental issue or like right now, we're stuck right now with the railroad. And, we're about ready to finish off our winning and switch Canada. We're waiting on railroad crossing. Sometimes the company that own those take a long time to resolve what they need to resolve. So, but no, we tend to manage it pretty well, and that's been part of what having the utility company as a partner is real key in that.
I know there's some concerns, legislation attempts in the past, and I think down the road as well, about right-of-way issues with utility companies and the streets and highways and that sort of thing. I think mostly in the more heavily populated, the Hamilton counties and places like that, where there may be multiple utilities
Yes,
along the
yes.
road.
Historically, we had some issues with like vectoring. When it was vectoring, it was just, the process was extremely slow. It's improved a great deal since CenterPoint bought them out. We learned some things too. I mean, as we go through all these small towns, I don't know that there's a one of them that actually knows where their utilities are. And so, you get out there and you do locates, but at some point it's just like, I think it's there. I mean, it comes down to that. So there were actually some water mains that were tapped into in Dale, Indiana. It's almost inevitable it'll happen, unfortunately. So, for example, in Christine, they decided, because they had a new water project come in, they decided to go ahead and run fiber off the main street, like block off. That way you'll avoid some of the problems with the water lines and the sewer lines, because they don't know where they're at. They were put in a long time ago. So, okay.
Well, let's do this piecemeal here. We've got the tower lease agreement. I move that we approve the tower lease agreement with PSC.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We need a signature from the auditor. And what about the third round of funding for Next Level opened last week? Is PSC going to do anything that would affect Du Bois County?
I will be involved in the third round. The maps have already made a significant change since the first time they were released. Unfortunately, there is not a tremendous amount of opportunity in the third round that I can see, at least. It's pretty odd. In our co-op territory, it actually maps to some of our co-op areas, which you would think it wouldn't do because it's considered a served area. And it also relates under the CAF areas, which was a federal program which County was part of. So we've had conversations with the Lieutenant Governor to make sure that the maps are as accurate as they can be. We think our activity will mainly be involved in the challenge process, to quite frankly do that. As people bid on, it's like, well, that's an area that we serve. It doesn't make sense to fund an area that we already serve, and vice versa. If somebody else serves it. So, Chad, I don't see a tremendous amount, at least where it stands now, of incremental business for us now. To be honest with you.
It seems, just from being an outsider, not knowing much about it, if there's $5 million available for a firm and they only have to put 20% in, if there is an opportunity, it seems like it may be profitable. But as we learned in that meeting, you've already got things planned for years. It's not that you necessarily need funding or need whatever. You've got a plan, you've got funding for a lot of the things you're doing.
Well, there's a lot of CAF area that Orange County has, and so a lot of that is not being built yet. The problem is that they have a 6-year time time when they would do that. They're a couple of years into that now. And so those areas will be challenged by Orange County. It's only because what to say, you know. And so even if we were to invest the time, resource, and engineer something like that, it's very likely it will go through. So I personally don't like the fact that they can tie up an area for 6 years with a funding program. That's problematic. With the next level, those time periods are 2 years. And we're going to actually extend our current bill a little bit because too much of a project for 2 years. But you know what I'm saying, it should be 6 years. It seems like a long time.
And that's kind of what I reported back to this board after that meeting was, it's coming. If you want, 4 years, it should be in a given area, but it's not there. It was never fast enough. It's like a lot of times.
I can assure you, that's what I talk about. That's exactly what they say.
Anything else?
You just, when
Thank you.
folks sign it, get us a copy of it. Scan it back to us, absolutely the same.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care. And also, just for the board's knowledge, I did reach out to get the Orange County, those NRL people, I'm still trying to, and they say they're putting together a map that will be able to show me and us and the community what is getting cap funded, what's getting next level broadband funding, and where there can be remaining gaps. Because from what we saw at the meeting on the map, there's not a bunch anymore. So if we were to fast forward 6 years from today, a lot of the county will be served well. It's just not today. I'm still looking for that so that when somebody like that come in or anybody else, you can say, oh, we're really missing a pocket in St. Henry, or we're missing a pocket somewhere. It'd be nice to have that information. They're putting it together.
Do they ARPA funds, any of that be utilized for broadband?
That was our first priority that if you remember after we had our first, our meeting, I came in and said, hey, I think that's the number one priority that we recognize. I think Commissioner Husker said, well, is that more important than wastewater? Like, that's a good, wastewater was on there as part of it as well. So I guess those were the number 1 and 2. And after we had this meeting with these folks, and they said, well, we don't really, we've got funding, then.
And a search.
Yes, yes it is. So we.
I'm sorry, that's gonna take all
It's in there. If PSC would have said, we get the whole county fund, we get high-speed fiber to every home in a year and a half, if we had $2 more million, then I would be bringing that back to you and saying, that's where we are, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Okay.
I think they may still probably hit us up for some pole replacement, but that would be about it, so that they're ready when the providers are ready.
We're doing what we can and as fast as we can.
I don't know that there's much else we can do.
We can't go out and do it ourselves.
We could, but we'd be competing, paying full price with grant funding.
I can't go out.
Oh, yeah, you personally?
Not personally.
Oh, you could do it.
Brent could be your engineer. Okay, so at 9:15, that's 6 minutes from now, does anybody need a break? To the next, first, no? Can the attorney give us any bankruptcy update for the coal company? Our roads on that west side of the county?
Yeah, so I had spoken with them Thursday or Friday of last week. They have an objection that they are filing to certain deadlines because not all of our road use agreements were included, and some clarification on that. And I think it's, what we can do is progressing in a positive manner. From the bankruptcy side of things though, the more it gets continued to like a deadline to sell, doesn't bode well whenever you move that off, meaning that it may not be likely to have someone lined up. So it's kind of wait and see from there. Our claims are ready. There's not a deadline for filing claims yet, but they've gone through the process of getting our road claims put in place. We already have the tax claim put in from the treasurer. So.
Now, what you're saying is they had a ready, willing, able buyer that was gonna pay a premium.
We wouldn't need to push the deadline.
Right, then it would be taken care of.
Correct. So time will tell.
Anything else from the attorney other than the bankruptcy situation?
Not on that front, no. Again, as things come in, we just kind of process them as we go. I'm happy to try to keep a list, tell you what we've done, but we've done stuff.
Okay,
Things are going well.
thank you. Is it correct, does the board know if, is our time frame up for taking applications for Veteran Service Office? I thought it was Friday, is that correct? So I sent Mark a request.
I can change the website to put your contact in there.
Mark, you haven't got back just yet, so I just want to kind of see where we were with that, if we had gotten a number of applications or resumes, or if we hadn't. So I'll give an update on where we are with Art. So on July 25th, before our last meeting, I asked where Baker Tilly was with our revenue replacement figures. They told me at that time they had all the documentation and data they needed from us, and they were working on it. I was impatient, so I hit them up yesterday, so asking where we were with that, and I asked them to verify with me that the use for the Wi-Fi hotspots and the thing was okay, and that they made it sound like it was fine to do that. And that they said, we have a revenue loss calculation ready for the county's review early next week. As of now, we haven't run into any issues with the data that Sandy's going to provide yet, so I guess we're still, I mean, it sounds like we're still on program, but we should. I mean, we really need to know this stuff. And I know that we talked about the first reporting is due at the end of the month. So I've never been let down by that team before, and hopefully this is the first time that they are to tell us to work on it. You heard anything different or additional to that? Here's oh, and by the way, Autumn said she wouldn't be coming, but I did talk to other people at private connections, and they would be here.
Somebody's setting up involved. They may be for the prosecutor.
Is there a prosecutor or commissioner's meeting? Come on in. Here we go.
They're here for you.
Okay. Good morning, come on down.
We'll share the podium.
Did you need something for the technology?
No, we're going low tech, if that's okay. We just thought, okay.
No, that's fine. No,
Oh,
I think Autumn was originally
Yeah,
asked to set
she-
that up, and okay.
We weren't sure, she had been, absent because of illness, we're still unsure, you know.
Sure.
So, we really do appreciate your time. The purpose and the reason with Autumn, you asking Autumn to become involved in the CPT, we thought it'd be a great opportunity for the commissioners to better understand some of the stuff we're doing, in the community. So that's why Autumn reached out and got us on the agenda. So that's the whole purpose. Our mission is to address the needs of those that have been impacted by domestic violence and sexual assault. And we're equipped to do that by addressing the needs of those that have been impacted, but we're also working really hard with the community to prevent these issues from happening in the first place. And so that's our goal this year. We've been doing the curriculum that we're using in the school. We're in every Du Bois County school right now, except for Holy Trinity, providing this programming. And we've been doing this for 3 years. And do better this next year is to make sure more adults in the communities that we serve are aware of what we're doing, so that they have an opportunity to understand what we're doing, but also to reinforce the content of the kids and what they're doing. And so I think I'm gonna let Renee talk a little bit, go
And
into
can you say for the
detail.
record who you both are and who you represent? There's people on Facebook and then just
Okay.
the other commissioners as well.
Okay, my name is Paula Rauschenberg. I'm the executive director with Crisis Connection.
And I am Renee Williams. So I'm on the prevention side. So, yeah. So we do, our programming in the schools is Monique Burr Foundation Child and Teen Safety Matters.
Thank you.
We can- So the program kind of uses these 5 safety rules throughout K through 8th grade. So that's kind of the big thing that we teach them. So all of the 5 safety rules have a motion that goes with them. So know what's up, spot red flags, make a move, talk it up, no blame, no shame. And then our curriculum is 2 lessons, it's evidence-based, teaching the kids and empowering them to help the adults protect them. So the first lesson is over like body safety. We teach them about the different types of abuse, ways to keep them safe, talking to a safe adult. And then the second lesson kind of goes into bullying and cyberbullying. On the second page that I gave you on the back, it kind of gives you a lesson or a list of the lessons that we teach the kids. So I'm not gonna go through each 5 safety rules, you guys can kind of read that, but that kind of both lessons incorporates those 5 safety rules. As I said, we have 2 lessons, we go into school, they're about 45, 50 minutes, and it's a PowerPoint presentation. We try to make it fun for them and entertaining as well. There are 2 videos in it. So the kids can ask questions, they can interact, we do like touchdown, sit down, kind of true false, it gets the kids up and moving and interacting as well as paying attention. So like know what's up, basically something so simple as knowing your parents' contact information. That sounds kind of funny when you get to 7th and 8th grade, but with cell phones and technology, kids don't have numbers memorized. So that's kind of the first part of safety. You know, red flags are inappropriate touches, people that kind of give you those uh-oh feelings. So we teach kids what some of those are. If you do spot some of those red flags, make a move, get away, stay away from the situation, and then talk it up, tell a safe adult. So the curriculum goes through who a safe adult is, kind of explains that. And then the last safety rule is no blame, no shame, reminding kids that it is not their fault if something has ever happened to them now or in the past. It is not their fault, they will not get in trouble. So those are kind of the 5 safety rules.
So, yeah, the last year was a little complicated with COVID, but we still did, we were able to leverage the use of video conferencing to stay involved and engaged in the school systems. In 2000, so during the school year, we did 184 presentations with students, reaching 5,380 students. And we do provide the services to other counties, so that was, we saw a slight decrease in the numbers of students last year because Holy Trinity provides training for themselves. And I can talk about the content of stats, but the real impact. I'm going to share with you a success story here. The purpose of this is to help kids learn to protect themselves, help them understand how they can reach out for help if they need it. And it helps them, and it also helps them identify ways that they can limit the opportunity for them to become a victim. So the letter I shared with you is a letter of support that we use for one of our funding requests. Crisis Connection is, most of our wages are covered under federal and state grants. It's just other stuff that we rely on private donations for. And so this was used in the process of securing a federal grant. And this letter of support gives you an idea. I could talk about stats with you, the number of people we serve, but this is the outcome. Ideally, this isn't what we want to happen. We would have preferred that the situation didn't happen at all. But when situations like this do happen, this letter that I provided for you is an indicator. It's kind of the intersection of what we do. We're out there trying to help kids prevent this from happening, let them to know how to communicate if they are impacted. And then our advocates are there providing that support for them. So I do have stats. COVID was difficult for us just as well as it is the rest of the community. There were obstacles that got in the way of people and the services they needed. There were obstacles that got in the way of preventing these things from happening. And many obstacles in the way of victims being able to reach out and disclose or get the support they need. And so, that's just looking for every opportunity we can to have more people in our community understand what we're doing, not just from a victim advocacy perspective, but also we are working hard in the schools. We can't do that on our own. We need more adults in our community becoming aware of what we're doing. And we need to increase that shared knowledge and reinforce with those kiddos and learning. As a parent, kids, I think it's helpful if parents can help reinforce this information. So,
And the terminology, it progresses age-wise. So what we teach in kindergarten, we're teaching in 8th grade, but it's maturing. Each lesson is maturing as they get older. And it's kind of repetitive, but every lesson is a little bit different. The more the kids hear this, the better they're gonna understand it and take it with them. Even as an 8th grader, kind of goes into talking about healthy relationships, which then we take that into the high school and we teach about healthy relationships, and just the material content kind of matures as the age matures. But like Paula said, it is so important to parents to understand what these kids are learning, terminology. So we were represented, or we had a booth at the Chalk Walk. It was great to get out amongst the public, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember, kids brought these kinds of papers home or talked about this. So it's kind of nice when we can all work together.
Any questions?
In a situation like with that child there, how difficult is it to prosecute an offender and get them off the streets or whatever the appropriate thing is?
I think that this particular case, unfortunately, so few cases, less than 6% of perpetrators are held accountable for their crimes. That's just, and there's all kinds of reasons for that. It's sometimes victims are reluctant to come forward. Sometimes victims don't make the best witnesses. And sometimes there's a delay in recording and there's not enough evidence to prove a case. And that's why our agency, we're there to help people through the legal system, but since so few people use that legal system, or the legal system is used so infrequently, that's why, we can't have everybody relying on just, the legal system to heal and move forward in situations like this. I think the prosecutor's office can tell you because it's challenging for them. We're really fortunate to have the group that we have right now. In our prosecutor's office, they do a good job of advocating and pushing things along the best they can. And that's not.
There's probably levels of barriers every step
Yes,
of the way,
yes.
which you wish weren't there, but.
And they can probably tell you about the barriers they see too. And one, I think everybody has good intentions, but we all have different perspectives, so.
I think the education in the classroom tells the kids that this isn't happening to everybody, and this isn't okay. It's- If you have to hear that a few times, I think that education piece is important.
Yeah.
Well, even at the middle school level, I even tell the kids, this isn't information to scare you, it's to educate you, to let you know this is out there. If you haven't experienced this,
And it's very
be aware.
And the content is, I'm not gonna say superficial, but it's not, the material that we cover is not graphic or, it's just informative at an age appropriate level, so. And I think it's my understanding that this year there will be 3 cases going through this system that came about as a result of Du Bois County, that came about as a result of, kids, helping. I think one kid situation was another student reached out for help, for a peer based on content that they learned, so, if we can just help one child and take one person off the streets, temporary,
The prosecution level of it is one level, the investigation part of it, you find that to be extremely difficult, and impactful on all people involved, or who handles that? Is that the prosecutor, or is that?
We have, like locally, the different law enforcement agencies all have people that tend to focus on those types of cases. And again, we're pretty lucky in this county to have people that really care about what they're doing. We have, they keep getting promoted and taken off the street. That's unfortunate. Which, they're getting rewarded for having a positive impact, but, yes, so each department has somebody that is more trained to handle these cases, usually detectives. And then our prosecutor's office is blessed to have a really good, investigator that digs into stuff. That's not the case with every county that we have. And then we have a couple prosecutors that focus more on cases of this nature. And I think that helps, they're more comfortable and more aware of the impact that they're having. It's not just a witness they're dealing with, it's a victim. And that's something that, we don't see in Grey County either. I don't know if that answers your question, but and we also have, and for the children, shout out to White Hat, they, do the, forensic interviewing process and handle that in a way that is, less intimidating, because they're doing interviews one-on-one with the children while, the multidisciplinary team is watching via video, so kids aren't intimidated and uncomfortable disclosing, and that's very helpful too. And I think that is having a positive impact as well. So, but in case of adults, adults are victimized in this county too, and it's not always that easy for them to face law enforcement or the prosecutor's office, or even the court process, the judicial system. It's many reasons why people don't come forward. Social media, the media, they don't want everybody to know their business. even though their identity is supposed to be protected in cases like this, sometimes the media will publish a lot of details so you know exactly who that victim is. Or people around them know who that victim is, so people don't want necessarily that these crimes are intimate nature and they don't want that out there about themselves. That's one thing, and then you see comments. A lot of times people that are victims because, you know, the perpetrator is the one who's choosing to victimize people. And typically they make a choice and choose people that are vulnerable, that's my children, and maybe people that would be easy to discredit. And that's why sometimes the people we serve are dealing with multiple issues, either substance use and or mental health issues. Those things all complicate things. So we should spend as much time talking about perpetrators as we do victims, because they're really the only ones that are making a choice in the matter to harm others. So,
would you mind sharing with us your staff? You yourself are the executive director, you do educational things, just one, is that correct? And then
Yes.
you have Jamie, I saw here was.
So we have, our agency has 3 focuses. There's the advocacy team, Jamie is one of the advocates, and they're the ones who provide the 24-hour support to the communities we serve via hotline and provide the victim advocacy. Then we have our education and prevention team, which Autumn, who isn't here, but and Renee are a part of. And then we also facilitate the batters intervention group. Those are court ordered or referred by DCS, males and females, and that's a program intended to help perpetrators of these domestic violence learn new behaviors and ideally change their behaviors. And men, we have groups for men. Maybe once a week, we have 4 facilitators. Right now, we have 2 groups that are meeting. We're doing that using video conferencing. And we've actually found that the guys feel more comfortable sharing in that setting. So that might be a positive outcome of COVID is we may go forward with a mixture of that because attendance is easier. Guys are feeling more comfortable, opening up because they're not sitting shoulder to shoulder to people. And we're hearing some positives out of that. The guys group is a 24-week program, and the female perpetrators, we meet with them one-on-one. And part of the reason you might think, well, why are they treated differently? Well, in order for a group to be effective, it needs to be a group setting. We don't always have multiple females available. We have to wait, and that drags out the process. So we meet with them one-on-one. It's a 14-week process. And we have seen an increase in referrals this last year for those programs. We also help, biggest entry point for a lot of people is seeking assistance with requests for help with protection orders through the civil court process. And we saw a huge increase in protection order requests last year across all of the counties we serve. And then we offer program choices that judges and prosecutors refer to. If somebody wants to draw up an order of protection, they'll ask them to see us go through the choices program. That's without children, it's 3 sessions. With children, it's 4. And we just cover the dynamics of abuse and help them understand how they can keep themselves safer if they return to the relationship. So again, it's been a challenging year. Increase for demands of our services have increased, but we're facing the same issues that every other employer is facing. It's hard to find employees right now. So increase in demand, smaller staff, it's, same challenge. Every other employer, everybody in the room is fully equipment. So that's like with the staff, we have 11.73 FTEs. We're funded to have 12 people working for us. Some of those are part-time.
I'll just have any other questions or Commissioner Hofstadter?
Don't have any questions.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks
it,
for your time.
appreciate your presentation.
These are-
You, David, is that your?
That's all. No, if the board wants to take it.
She said everything's been taken care of. Yes. I contacted him, or I don't know, we have to ask them. Okay, and then a lady called in, who says how wide handicap spots have to be, the state gave her our number. This lady called in, the state called, gave her our number, and said, we take care of how wide handicap parking spaces have to be. I said,
There's a US code on that.
I said, I don't think we take care of that.
We do.
And she said, she was calling for Hoosier Hill. She didn't even know if they were in our county or not. I said, I don't think they were, but she thought it might be Crawford.
I think it is. Which one's over on up 545? Yeah. That's like Fork, right? That's in Hoosier Hills, right? Hoosier Hills is the big one, right? I don't know.
It's supposed to be down the road.
Hoosier Hills is the one that's.
545, that's what you're having.
That's Hoosier Hills.
Yeah, so that's ours.
So she said she'll call back if she needs us, but I said,
That one
There's
is,
no, we have.
the other one is
Say
the
that's private property.
Potoka Lake Marina.
It's not private property, but it's not county property.
I don't know.
And plus it's a state code, a federal code, I think, actually.
Was it a win? You guys just send me a text with your name on it, so I can get you, I got a loan on my phone, so I don't have anybody's phone number right now. So.
Do you have the same phone numbers?
Yeah, they just switched the same, give me my phone right here. Long story short.
Alright, well, I had a technology call with Matrix last week. Our agreement with Matrix is up, November 30th, and so I met with them on a teleconference. And we went through a few things, and I'll share a couple highlights with you. Rob, who is the gentleman that has appeared in person a couple times, said that they are thinking that over the next year, our pricing, if we change nothing, he thinks our pricing would be lower with Matrix, but if they did a bit more proactive server management, the year-to-year contract would be flat. So that was good information. They said that we pay $35 per user per month currently. We do 16 hours of net administration a month. we've went through some numbers and said, I asked if we were overutilizing, that's always my concern, are we overutilizing the help desk? We're sending emails about issues that we could handle internally. Someone was looking for ways to make that less expensive if we could. And they said the most issues that they deal with are printer issues and password resets. So, you would agree with that? That's pretty common?
We deal with a lot of people working on password resets, so I can see.
So sometimes they go through you and sometimes they go through them. So I don't know that I have much really to add to that other than
I would like to see some more proactive, surplus maintenance, because I'm using my time now, they give us full.
so they're saying if we did get more proactive server maintenance, then we should still have a pretty flat contract. The concern always is, do we want to bid this technology information out to other people? That they're, get feedback from other providers. I've had one reach out to me. We've had some in person. It's good to do that, I get, for a number of reasons, to make sure that we're not overpaying for the service. The bad thing about doing it is somebody may shoot you a low number and not provide what level of quality that we're used to getting. I don't know that we've had any problems with Matrix in any fashion as far as getting quality work from them, or our relationship or communication ain't those problems. So, I need to get away from that. But if a company reaches out and says, well, we'd like to bid for that business, I'd have to be able to give them a list of here's what we would expect, so compare apples to apples from their company to what Matrix is doing. So I'll probably do with Sandy to discuss that further, unless either of you have a question or concern or comment about it.
Well, I agree that it's always best to know what other options are out there at the same time. We've got good service from Matrix, and I think we want to sort of stay with them because of that, but certainly that's a factor that enters into the decision. Now, if we were to get a quote from another company, it is just that quote. It's not like bidding a highway project where we have to go with the lowest bidder unless we show issues why we don't. In this case here, we're just getting a quote, and then we can say, why is this quote smaller? What is Matrix offering us that we couldn't get over here? And maybe it's just a company level of knowing our system and knowing what we need that continues to drive us in that direction. So I'm okay either way. I don't see a problem with getting a quote somewhere else, but of course, it would have to be an awfully good one and an awfully good sales job to get it into replacement.
Well, again, I'll reiterate that the problem that I would have is if I say it's Bill's Computer Services, I'd say, Bill, we're paying this a year. Here's some of the stuff that I know that we do. But if I told them we need server management, I'm sure that could mean a lot of different things from one firm to another. So they could give us a bid and say, yeah, we'll do server management, we'll answer your phone calls, we'll have a 24-hour help desk. That could be considerably different than what we're getting now. It could be better or worse.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of,
I wouldn't know how to put the spec together, I guess.
there'd have to be a lot of, research, speculating, references, even Matrix taking a look and saying, this is an apples to apples or something like that.
A lot of offices with a lot of different programs.
I think I would definitely lean towards staying with Matrix. They be the front runner for sure, just knowing what we have. But I think it's important at this point to start looking at possibly hiring an IT specialist that could be full-time on county staff, because that's the person who would have to know how to write the spec for this type of thing, or to know how to bid this out. And
we got a lot of communications and computer stuff going on, and we don't have a full-time person. So, my suggestion would be to have Marky maybe look into what the salary would entail and what our cost would be if we did hire a full-time person, and at least throw that into the mix as far as, looking at it.
So for an organization our size, getting an HR person was one step in the process. Of an organization our size generally has one. An organization the size of the technology demands we have usually would have a tech person. You know, where I work, we have 3.
Right.
Or a third of people.
Yeah, you're smaller than counties.
So it always makes me bristle to think of adding another person to the payroll, especially a high-end person.
Right.
But
I'm the same way, but I think in the long term, it would save time and money.
And I think the pushback you received last time we talked about it was, well, you're not gonna be able to replace what they do with one person. This wouldn't be, I don't think you're saying this would be a replacement, this would be an addition or a
Right.
partnership sort of.
They would be the point person that work with our maintenance organization.
And possibly this person could work on printers and reset passwords and
Right.
more what we would require from somebody else. Great. I think we may have spoken over our time there just a bit. So it's 9:45. We're supposed to, at 9:45, discuss Du Bois County Tourism Board appointment. We'll start with Commissioner Bromas. Have you had anyone that you've reached out to or has reached out to you regarding that appointment?
No one has reached out to me. We had a discussion at a licensing about a potential applicant. Is that person still on
Yes.
the list? Then I'm comfortable there.
Commissioner Ostrander?
Same here, I reached out to a few people I thought might be interested, didn't really get any firm kind of feedback. So, I'd be happy to move forward with the person that was mentioned at our last meeting.
I did have someone stop me. We spoke. I sent them information on the position, but I haven't heard back from them. It was more, I think, a curiosity. When do they meet? Who's on the board? What do they do? But I think our original person. So I think the auditor's office has prepared I asked them to prepare either a blank one and one for that individual. So I don't think we need the blank one. I just thought maybe if one of you came in with a potential appointment that we'd have both. So the appointment is only going to be at this point between August and December of this year to fulfill the outgoing term or the unexpired term of the current member that has resigned. So I think unless there's further discussion, I'm happy to move that we appoint Chris Treader, Ferdinand, to the Du Bois County Tourism Board.
I'll second the nomination.
Is there any other discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. So I will let the executive director know, and I'll let Mr. Treader know. As we have about 10 minutes to fill until our next item, I'll mention something, give an update on the jail and community corrections project. We do have our bi-weekly meeting, update meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. located behind the community corrections in the cramped trailer. The one issue that I'm working on is with others is some flooring options. Basically, the covering that will go over the concrete floor. 22,000 to 26,000 square feet of flooring is at this point going to be concrete that will be cured sealed. It'll have an acrylic over it. I believe it's a clear acrylic, so whatever the concrete looks like is what you're going to see. I'm going to work with Frank Kiefer from Jasper Equipment, I think it's Jasper Equipment. He's supposed to give me a call tonight. He's gonna have some samples set up of what is an acrylic and epoxy, the urethane, what the different floor coverings look like, and what will be is there a need for us to change what's in our spec to one of these other products, or just go with what we have? So I think we discussed this previously a little bit, but I will be looking into that. Otherwise, the project seems to be moving forward fine. The people working on the project are having the same issues anyone else in the country is probably having with getting materials and getting, if they need a certain kind of bolts, they're not able to get them sometimes, or if they need a certain, so some of that may end up being causing some issues in the future, but I think right now things are still moving forward fine. And you're always welcome to go up and look at the property as well. You can enter from behind the old Ponderosa on Stotstrasse, or come up from, the regular entrance if you wanted to see what they're doing. We had a runoff issue last week. They have a silt fence up to keep the soil and things from moving. With some of the heavy rain we've had some dirt get into the waste or the rain, stormwater, and so the city contacted us, and that's been remedied. So I think, but overall we're doing fine. That's probably about the only hiccup we had. Unless anybody has any questions or comments about that.
As you know, I did attend the last, what do you call them, update meetings and progress meetings. And I don't know going forward, or do you think you're going to continue to have them in that trailer, in that same location? Probably. It just seems
that's what they're used to, but there's a lot of people stuffed in a small space.
That was my concern. It's awfully tight in there, and people sitting on top of one another. But they have to know.
My suggestion would probably be to move it back down to the basement of the jail where people can spread out if they needed to.
But no, that was a good meeting. Talking about driving up there and looking at it and that sort of thing. Parking was pointed out that parking needs to stay out front to avoid being in people's way back there. So just relay that a little bit. But also, there's a good article in the paper, I thought. Sandy did a nice job with the article in the paper. Was that Friday or Thursday? There was an article about the project in the paper. So
I missed it. I haven't seen it yet.
I hope I wasn't dreaming. No, there was an article in the paper about it. They did a nice job with it.
I'm sure I'll catch it today. What was it? Just an update on where the project stands?
Yeah.
And how we're moving forward?
Yeah, I think she walked around on the site with Les.
Yes.
And he filled her in on what we're doing and what some of the headaches are, if you will, and challenges in the project, as you pointed out a little bit ago, getting things and keeping things organized and making sure that one group doesn't step in front or on the toes of another group and get in their way and that sort of thing. But it was just well done.
Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Good. That being the case, I think we have I think that's almost your bottom here. Somewhere there he is.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Association of Indiana Counties Nationwide Retirement Solutions Scholarship Award. You please come on up. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for allowing me to be on your agenda. In Dave Bonner with the Association of Indiana Counties. And we're here today to present a check to the Boyd County student who won a scholarship through us at Nationwide Retirement Solutions. It's a $1,000 scholarship. We present $500 today, another $500 in the spring once they register for classes. But the winner is Dylan Hope, and Dylan is a graduate of Chanelville High School, and his mother, Chris, works in the auditor's office, and his father, Scott, works at the courthouse as well. And we're just so happy to get this out to somebody in Du Bois County. You all have been such a strong supporter of ours. I was looking at the plaques on the wall here. You all won several awards through the Association of United Counties. I appreciate all the support we get from you all. Diana Webb is here again with Nationwide, and she'll help with this presentation. But Dylan's going to end up going to the University of Southern Indiana. Again, he was a graduate of Jasper High School where he played soccer, was in the National Honor Society. Just a very impressive young man. Had perfect attendance all through high school. I think he said he had perfect attendance for 9 years, including all 4 years of high school. So that's remarkable and a great work ethic. I'm sure he gets that from his parents, so they must be very proud of him. He was academic all-state soccer, and all-conference first-team soccer as well. But he also contributed a lot to the community through some of his charitable works. And I was just talking to his parents, and they must be excited that he's not going too far away to school at the University of Southern Indiana, where he plans to go to the healthcare field in radiology and imaging. And so that's a great opportunity, I think, and a great profession to go into. They always need healthcare workers. And hopefully, I'm sure his parents hope that there'll be a nice healthcare job for him in the community when he graduates. But again, it's just really an honor for me to be here and to bring something back to your all's community. And we'll see if Diane wants to come up and make any comments. So Nationwide, we'll have Dylan come up and we'll present the check, and maybe we'll do some pictures for the commissioners here in a few minutes.
Hi, everybody. I represent Nationwide Retirement Solutions, and under normal conditions, I come here once a year to meet with your employees to help them save for retirement. So it's an honor to be here to give this scholarship out to one of my counties, because I compete with the Northern rep, and he's always wanted one of his counties to win. So we're very honored that we're here today in your county representing Nationwide, and thank you for having me.
Dylan, any comments for? At school? Wednesday, so this week, so it worked out great that we were able to do this here at the county. And again, I do want to point out Kenny Berkeley is on our board of directors, and again, a great support of the association. Steve's been on our board of directors as well, and just again, what a thrill for us to come out and give money back into the community. So I want to present this $500 check to Dylan, but he'll get another $500 in the spring. So congratulations, Dylan. Congratulations to your parents. So you all want to come up and we'll do some pictures. Then Dustin Renner. Dustin Renner's on our staff. He kind of organized all the award celebrations, or all the awards we did this year. Actually, when we did here with Pike County, we're giving them out an award similar to what you received in the past. So great to get from Southern Indiana. But Clark County is my home county, so anytime, not really close to Clark County here, but anytime I can get Southern Indiana, makes my day better, so appreciate it.
We're closer than most.
Well, so do you want to do the pictures up here, or? Sure. We can draw it out if you all want to stand. Sure. Hey, John. Can you share?
I was gonna say, do you want to take one now? Here.
That's all I got. That's all I got. I should have been suspicious that that would be the case.
All right.
Good type to be there. I was trying to catch it.
We all get it.
I saw it. That came in.
Not anymore. All right. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Couple more here.
Yeah.
They don't want me to be in pictures at home, so.
Good at taking them.
I'm good at taking them. I know that you're here, it looks like. All right.
All right, thank you. Good luck this year.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Here's on the chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, great work.
Thanks. Let us know what we can do to help out. I know you've got a ton of questions probably
Look
with.
forward to the conference.
Rescue plan. Working on it. Some people have some news to do, so I'll enjoy it.
Are you
Selling
going out there
location,
anytime soon?
we're not gonna come to the county and he'd be able to spend that on getting us out issues and stuff like that. So, a lot of exciting stuff going on. But anyway, thanks for being on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr.
Good to see you, Dan.
Always good.
We should get them on the agenda every week. And that. Give money back to our students.
Sure.
No, that's always really nice. Commissioner Hussiter mentioned the conference you're going to. Okay. And then the commissioners conference, looks like it's at the end of November.
Right.
I noticed that this week.
In November, early December.
Right. November 30th, I think.
31st.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact date, but it's always that week that spans November, December.
I don't recall the location.
It's at the same location as Sheridan, at Keystone.
And your intention is to,
I will be there. I will be there, yes.
Commissioner Hussiter?
I will plan to be there.
Sure.
I won't be registering through the county, though. I'll be on the board.
Okay. So we do that.
I see.
I think the only other miscellaneous item I have for today that I wanted to discuss was the Hoosiers Enduring Legacy Program, the help program. I think I had received about a dozen emails on that over the last week. Most of them seem to be copies of the same thing somebody else sent out. But what that is, I guess it's new. It's designed for local units of government to optimize their coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds. And they're having a live informational webinar outlining help details tomorrow, or 2 days from now, at 3 p.m. And I think I may have sent both of you the link if you hadn't received it. And they talk about it being a 52-week process culminating in a dynamic strategic investment plan that will help communities that are part of this advance e-connectivity, promote community wellness, enhance quality of life, strengthen local economies. In short, what I think it'll do is I think they're going to give a credit or cash of $20,000 to communities that will hire someone or have a staff person participate in this. And I think they require a minimum of 30 hours. They'll pay $20,000. We can pay whatever we want to pay to get a qualified person. The minimum pay, I think, is $40,000. I think it read. And there's a big long list of what they would expect from that person: travel to meetings, work with the strategic plan. One thing that I thought was interesting, we'll just leave it at that. I think what would be good is we've always talked about having a strategic plan, a community-wide plan, a county plan. This would be a nice part of that, because we are taking items piecemeal, we're taking projects piecemeal, and we don't have a 5-year plan, for example, as a county right now, like the cities and municipalities are. The municipalities are required to do one, have 5-year plans, but the counties aren't by law, so we don't really have one. So I thought that this would be a nice, if we did decide to move forward with something like this, it could take care of both the strategic plan for our funds and maybe just a more general plan. Things like needing new highway space that we talked about earlier, or needing solid waste facility improvements or changes. Some of those things that you don't want to make decisions when you have to, when it falls in, or when you're at a critical point, you'd rather have a plan for it and strategically get to that goal. So I thought it was at least worth looking at, and I'm going to attend that webinar. So did either of you have a chance to look at that stuff or read about it?
Yeah, I looked at it, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to be on the webinar or not. I would like to if I can. I hadn't considered the long-term strategic planning as you mentioned, I think that's a good idea. It's a very good idea for us to, you know, I've thought for a long time that we need to have more of that going on. I guess we had one 10 years ago or sometime like that. There was a plan put together, and I don't know that it was, whether that was even as good of a strategic plan as what I would like to see. But so if that's an outcome of this, I think that's a very positive thing. Even to the point where it might lead into more of a plan for development in the county, whether that means zoning and planning and development that way or wherever it takes us. But there's a lot of issues like that you're right. We know they're out there. We bring them up once in a while. Sometimes we're forced into doing something by circumstances. But it'd be nice to have a plan approach to some of these things.
We've seen some local mayors do that where maybe historically you were required to have a plan and it sat on the shelf and gathered dust, but then I would say over the last decade, there's been local leadership at other communities where that's their guideline. They refer back to it and they take it seriously, and it's not just a paperwork exercise, it's actually a living plan. They have taken big strides in implementing. I think it's worth considering.
Yep.
And it's always nice whenever they have some funds to go with it to help implement it. And before this, the ARP money does allow for, even if this didn't exist, the ARP money, that it is an allowable expense to have somebody, if we wanted to hire someone to do this similar kind of work, to work on a strategy, to work on implementation, to find goals that meet community needs.
Okay.
So, at least over the course of the American Rescue Plan funds, this position could be fully funded without affecting the tax base or our local income tax money. So I will report back on that at our next meeting. So our wage classification discussion should start in 7 minutes. Do we have any miscellaneous items from Commissioner Hofstadter?
No, the only thing I guess I have to report is we do have the rough draft of the sewer district study. I'm going over it now. Hopefully I'll have something to share with you guys here soon. And it's going well.
And the plan that you're looking at currently, is that for one specific leg of the project, or is it the grand?
This is the kind of overall plan, bird's eye view that, you know, if this community, for example, needed service, who would service that area? So basically it takes into account our current treatment facilities and where things would be piped to, you know, according to that.
Similar to our trails thing, where it might be never happen or it'll happen in a long time,
Right.
but at least it looks at all the assets and possibilities.
There's no engineering or anything in this, so.
Example, for the trails, then that's another example where long-term strategic planning might drive some of that. You have to be careful with the term bird's eye view, though.
Right away, I'm like.
He'll be here all day.
Anything else?
I'll bring up this support for Toka watershed that we talked about in the solid waste meeting this morning. They're asking for our support. They're applying for the Section 319 grant. Put in an application for that to do some of the work that they do in controlling the pollution and the source of pollution in the Toka watershed. Asking that we support in promoting watershed programs and events, connecting the watershed coordinator with landowners, stakeholders, potential community partners, providing input and guidance through involvement with the Patoka Lake Watershed Committee, offering financial and volunteer support through county organizations such as the Solid Waste District. Not asking for any particular contribution at this time, simply our support in these efforts, and this has been ongoing. So I'll move that we as a Board of Commissioners support the Watershed Committee's application for this 2019 grant.
Second, your motion.
Okay, we have a first and second on the floor. Is there any other discussion on the topic? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So we will sign off on that, and that will be returned to Carla at Solid Waste. Is that where we go?
Our Doug at for the water and sewer. I think Doug is the chair of the event.
Pass that same.
Yes, please.
Anything else, Commissioner Ramos?
No, I've attended a couple of things over the last 2 weeks. One was the 21st century inauguration or kickoff, if you will, up at Patoka Winery. And I don't have a lot to report there. I mean, it really wasn't an information type meeting. It was more of just a celebration of the process. It amounts to several counties here in southern Indiana banding together to talk about education and promote educational needs of the area. So we'll have to kind of wait and see how that progresses and what comes out of that. But that's headed by our Du Bois County Chamber Director, Becky Hickman, and Brenda Stallings is also part of that from Du Bois County, as well as mostly Leo's or economic development organization people from Orange County, obviously like Crawford County and Perry and Spencer and Pike. I think those are the counties that are involved in it, as well as Du Bois. So I did attend that. Also attended the ribbon cutting at Sanders and Fisher businesses. Well attended and neat thing. They gave a tour of the plant, and I just think it's pretty special the way those two firms have come together to form not a partnership, but certainly a collaboration between them in what they're doing up there. So if you have the opportunity, that would be well worth your time to visit up there. That's an industry. I think that's all I have.
All right, Sheriff Kleinhelter, you're here to discuss wage classification for your staff. Yes. Come on up.
We had the budget last week, and there was a proposed in the budget to reclassify some of our deputies, the ones that have went to specialized instructor school. They are EVOC instructors, our firearms instructor, defensive tactics instructors, and the detectives. It was approved by the council, and they thought that it was a necessary item to get your approval as to put different slots in our wage classification.
So currently, these same folks are just under a different classification. If they move classification, it would change the wage range. The financial arm of the county's already looked at it.
It did not change the wage range, it just added another classification in there.
That's correct, yes.
So how does switching this either help your employees or help the county? I mean, what's the purpose?
What's the purpose? They went above and beyond. There are guys that we have to go to mandatory training every year. So we have an EVOC instructor, emergency vehicle operation, firearms, and defensive tactics. They're the ones that went to the general instructor class. They also have to go through another specialized to train in those three things. So it's just time that they give above and beyond the normal workday. So they are going to be reclassified. So if they are an instructor, they're being paid 3% more than a normal deputy if they're instructor.
it's a way to encourage and thank people
Yes.
to take on additional roles that aren't the bare minimum of the position.
Right.
Anything else we need to know about it?
No, sir.
Council President, anything we need to know?
No, I think, I think the council looked at it as a way of, starting low, you got the low deputy, person coming in, and then having him be able to move up the scale. And we had to have some kind of incentive, between the two classifications to make it worthwhile. And the council sat down, or a few of the members sat down, spent time, and we, as a council, we approved the layout. I think you presented it in an email, and I've got a copy of it here. So it's, I think it's a good thing.
And from HR standpoint,
I think the direction's good. Me and Tom worked on it, there initially before the presentation, and, we kinda got that stair step now from probationary all the way up to the chief deputy, so I think it's a great direction.
thank you.
Good opportunities.
And my only comment would be that the deputies that we have, we want to keep, and we want to be able to attract new deputies, and jailers and staff members, and they're not getting rich doing the job. And so if this is something that will improve the system, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, just for clarification, we're not creating a new position, we're simply reclassifying the wage classification or
Correct.
the job classification, the job description has changed for these
people, right.
these individuals. So what we're adding here, for example, in MPOL 3, we're losing in another classification where they were previously.
Yes,
Is that,
yes.
is that a way of saying it?
Yeah, if they're in MPOL 3, they would have, well, not necessarily, I guess, because MPOL 3 is your sergeant. It's just another, there's no wage change between MPOL 3. The wage limits are the same. However, if you are an instructor and you're in MPOL 3, you're just being paid 3% more, which still falls inside the wage range.
Right, okay. Yeah, no, I just,
So one person can make $1, the other person can make $1.03 if they take on these additional responsibilities.
Yes, yeah.
My voice for it.
Anything else, Commissioner Bravo?
No.
I move that we approve the wage classifications as presented.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thanks, Sheriff.
All right, we're ahead of schedule again. Did anybody need a break? Are we good?
I have a few others. Sherman says that the ambulance coordinator assistant will have.
We need to classify them.
Yes, and then.
Did we create that position?
Part-time.
We're going away.
So is it stuff that? Mark-
These are just things that Charmaine said we probably need in addition to that.
So Marky, could you mind?
What's that?
If you could just present to us at the next meeting, whatever the findings are, would be.
And what's the department of pretrial, you can have those set up.
Okay, yes.
So if you could review that maybe, and then in 2 weeks, we could present it and we could make a determination where those go.
I can do that.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go to the auditor. Do you have any items for us this week?
No, that's all I had.
We've already talked to the attorney, so. We have 10 minutes until the COVID-19 memorial gets complete, but should we wait in case anyone else wants to attend? Or move forward?
you guys know if anybody else is coming or here?
Okay, let's go ahead and we'll ask Mr. Walsh to come on up. Our partner this time. It's good. We all need help.
Somebody at home.
Good morning.
Morning.
At the July 19th Commissioners meeting, you may recall that I provided an update on the progress of the COVID Memorial Committee. I talked about how the design evolved over time with several people's input to be the design you see in the renderings here. So,
I'm sure you don't have them upside down.
like most of you, it's not changed in the last few weeks, so. Problem, I guess. But wondering if you might have an easel.
I see the larger one.
As you can see, it's a black granite column with gray granite circular benches around it, placed on a stamped concrete circular pattern. There will be inscriptions on it and with two distinct messages. One, to pay tribute to those frontline workers who bravely risk contracting an often fatal virus to keep our communities healthy, safe, nourished, and educated during the pandemic. Second message is to honor those residents of Du Bois County that lost their lives to complications of the virus and to their families that continue to grieve, and in many cases were not able to be with them as they passed. There will also be images etched onto the column to illustrate those two messages conveyed in those inscriptions. So just to expand on it a little bit more about why we're doing this for some people, Beth here prepared a few comments.
That's right, thank you very much. The virus and the chaos that it has caused is different from any other. And I really don't know of any other disease or illness that has caused the following. Schools to be held remotely with teachers adapting to a new way of teaching, and bless their hearts for being so nimble. Family members to not be allowed to hold their loved ones' hands as they took their final breath, most of the times due to COVID. Family and their friends to not be able to say their final goodbyes to those not only losing their lives to COVID, but for really any reason. Family holidays celebrated, and meetings like yours held via Zoom or YouTube. Healthcare workers being forced to live away from their families in fear of spreading the virus to them. Elective medical procedures to be postponed. Lack of hospital beds for COVID patients and for anyone needing a bed, whatever the reason. Businesses to be closed or have only curbside service. Employees who have to work from home or not at all. Masks to be worn extensively, with women making masks and providing them since masks were hard to come by at first, until when the stores have prominently displayed them. Most activities canceled, postponed, or altered in how they were held. Travel to be suspended. Being told to quarantine due to close contact with a positive case, and worse for those that had COVID. Signs made depicting how to wash your hands and reminding us to stay 6 feet away from each other, along with the proper way to wear a mask. I could go on and on. I've got a whole nother page, but I think you get the idea. Chris and I were out the country in mid-March 2020, enjoying a relaxing vacation when we're looking at Facebook, watching the news, US news and world news. And they were flooded with stories about this virus called Corona. We were wondering if we would be stranded in this country. And when we did return to beautiful Southern Indiana, how will life have changed? We made it home, and Chris worked from home 100% of the time until his employer switched to hybrid schedule. I spent the rest of the school year in the spring of 2020 with two of my grandsons during the day, so their mother, who was an essential worker, could continue to work, and they could finish out their school year at home. We have our story. Everyone has their story. Let's not forget how COVID-19 pandemic has impacted lives, not only those who suffered through and lost their lives to the virus, but every person in the world who had to adopt to the so-called new normal. Imagine the stories that can be told while sitting at this beautiful addition to the courthouse property. Tears will be allowed to be shed, and history will be relived for years to come. That's what I got. Thank you.
So, since the lead time on receiving the granite stones for this memorial from overseas suppliers is about 6 to 8 months, we are here today to request approval from the commissioners to proceed with placing an order with Schuman's Monument for the granite stones and get that process started. The COVID Memorial Committee will continue to work on generating and collecting images and wording for those messages, the 2 messages we mentioned about. We have a few options now, but we want to gather more to have more to choose from. When the committee finalizes those images and inscriptions, we will come back to this committee and review with you the review and approval of those prior to them being placed on the stones. So another approval step. The committee will also work on laying out the agenda for the ceremony for the dedication of the memorial once it's installed in the courthouse. That too will be brought back to the commissioners for review and approval prior to setting the date and the agenda. In summary, we're here today to request approval and commitment from the Du Bois County Commissioners to obtain and place the memorial on the courthouse lawn and for the county to take over ownership and maintenance of the memorial once completed. And for the county to provide the vehicle for foundations and other contributors to send their donations to, and then we'll pay the bills. We can then begin our fundraising phase of the project and place the order for the mining granite stones. Thank you. Any questions?
So at this time, there's the funding isn't in place.
We've had discussions with Du Bois County Community Foundation, and they're very much on board with it, but they want us to, of course, go to other foundations and get as much money as we can from them. And then the impression I have is they'll clean up the rest, whatever, fill in the gap, whatever spots.
I think you are aware of the comments that I've received from those in the public that I've discussed with several people again this weekend. I don't know, they almost seem shocked or surprised of why would we do that? And more so than I even feel, when I was considering it, why would you do that? And then I go into the explanation. They asked, who's taxpayer going to pay for it? That's going to make somebody mad. I said, well, taxpayers aren't going to pay for it. Two, I explained that there's a committee that is passionate about this, that has been working on the issue, and I explained what it looks like and where it is. And so some of the feedback, as I've said before, I've not had anybody say, wow, that's a great idea. I really think that that's important. I think that that's something you need to push forward with. I guess I've had one now, I guess after this weekend, but now that I think about it, and the people that are against it, I say, well, at a minimum, it's going to be attractive benches and people can sit there, even if you think that it's a terrible idea. You can't think it's a terrible idea to have benches on the courthouse property. So at a minimum, I went that direction. But one person, I think the same person talked to Commissioner Bromas over Straws and Fest, said, it's disrespectful to veterans. And I said, okay, tell me more about that. And they said, well, you've got a Veterans Civil War Memorial here, you've got the book and the flags and the veterans items on the other side of the courthouse. It's just not appropriate. He said, if you want to put that at the hospital, that might make sense to put it there or put it somewhere else. But they said that this should be reserved for a different kind of solemn memorial, I guess. Or maybe that's how I took it, or that's what I read into what they were saying. So anyway, it would have been a lot easier for me to support moving forward if I would have had one person in the community come up and say, that's a great idea, I hope you support that. I haven't had that. And I haven't had a ton of people against it, but the next day after, I believe you were here previously, and it was in the paper, they said, why would you do that? They just didn't understand why that was important, or why we should do this. And then other people have said, I've lost people to suicide. Suicide's a huge problem in this community. If you set the precedent by putting a memorial up to this, I'll be in there in a month wanting something for suicide or alcohol. People that die from those diseases. Heart disease kills more people, and heart disease affects every family. And so there's just those things. I said, do you really want to start going down this path? So those were some of the feedback that I've received. So when we started talking about this in maybe February, or I don't remember when it was, I was probably more supportive of it in February than I am today. Right now, I'm kind of in between myself. So we'll pass it on to the other commissioners for comment.
I support this. I can't think of any other thing that touched so many lives, whether you lost someone or not, whether you were an essential worker or not. Like I said, you may have gotten sent home from work for 3 weeks or 3 months. You may have lost your job. I mean, it just changed so much. Our school kids that went through this are gonna look back 50 years from now and still think about this as a life-changing moment. And it changed everything. So heart disease doesn't change everything. It's not communicable. And I feel for those people too, that this is different. This affected every single one of us in some different way. I can't think of anything better to kind of remember it by. I mean, I guess nobody really wants to rehash it, but it happened. And it changed so many lives that I think what they're doing, what this committee is doing is really a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I still support the project, and when somebody comes up to you, like you mentioned the gentleman at the Strauss Fest, and I also knew the person who sent you the email, somebody that you know and respect, and they have a different opinion than you do, it's tough. And I've certainly gone through that many times with things that we've faced here, the jail, for example. We've had a lot of comments back and forth on the jail. To your point, maybe we had more balance, I don't know, but the highway, there are people on, and many other issues that people that that disagree with my thinking on this. But when that happens, I ask myself, why was I in favor of it in the first place? And I don't think that has changed. And this is an unprecedented, as Beth pointed out, this is an unprecedented, I think, situation because of some of the things that Nick said, that it affected all of us, even to the point where maybe more so than some of the military conflicts that we have faced over the years, that affects us right here in Du Bois County more so than some of those. It's different. I don't mean to compare the two in any way, but to me, the biggest reason for doing it, if we were just doing it to remember those who lost their lives, then I think those who say that heart disease and cancer still take more lives, and some of these other illnesses and diseases and so forth are important to consider as well. But to me, the most driving reason for doing it is the historical aspect of it. We have what I call the soldiers sailor monument. Some people call it the Civil War monument on the side of the square here, to remind us that our freedom is fragile, and we need to protect it, and what we need to go through to do that. I think this monument could continue to remind us what can happen, that this is probably not the last time that something like this might happen, and that we're better prepared in the future. What did we do right here? What did we do wrong? in reacting to this pandemic. And, you know, we're not gonna address all of those things or maybe very many directly on the monument, but the monument itself will continue to remind us that this happened and how we reacted to it and how it changed everything that we did during this past year. And, you know, we talk about 2020 and now we're into 2021 and it'll probably continue to some level, long after this yet. So yeah, I think it's appropriate to put it in a place where many people, where the exposure is such that many people will continually be reminded of what has happened. And so yeah, that's why I was supporting it in the first place, and I think that's still important.
So, they are asking us to take action. So can you order it without having a way to pay for it?
Yes.
So the board can take under, I guess we have to either approve, what we're kind of being asked today, are we approving it or are we not? Are we approving something? Are we gonna give some amount of square footage on the square to the project so that they can plan or order or do whatever's necessary? So we're not approving that design fully, but in a pretty general sense. I mean, we're not approving the writing or other things on it.
I think we're approving the physical design, but not the inscriptions, not the information.
Not the details.
Design and location.
Yes.
And what is the size again of the patio?
It's a 10-foot diameter. So
Okay.
it'll be stamped concrete. We're trying to make it as maintenance free as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's made out of granite and stamped concrete, and there'll be etchings on it. And
Scott asked me a question here when he and I met a week or so ago. If we put this circle out there basically under the tree or between the tree and the curb, would we add a sidewalk to the present concrete that's out there to provide access to it?
you're asking me.
I guess, yeah.
Well, there's a bench there now with no concrete up to it, so I assume they intended people to walk through the grass to get there, so I don't.
Yeah, maybe stepping stones, you know, if we find out that that's needed, maybe stepping stones or something could be put there. But then it wouldn't be necessarily wheelchair accessible, because you may want that.
So it's not a part of the current design. It's probably
But open to
short version, but it would be thought.
It's nothing that needs to be ordered in a 6 to 8 week, a month lead time.
If at some point we think it's important, if we approve the current design, and we feel that's, important when we actually start to pour or construct it, we could add it. Yes. And when I say a sidewalk, it wouldn't be much of a sidewalk, it would be, a few feet.
I do think it would be nice to be ADA compliant.
Yeah. And we made sure that the openings to get in between the two benches are big enough to support that.
Brandon, have you looked at the design in any way?
I saw them sitting there, but that's all right.
If it is approved, would you look it over? Or would you approve moving forward, would we look at it to see?
It's already a coordinator.
Okay.
So.
In addition to a couple of others.
I guess where I would stand, if we can take a vote and move on it, September 6th would be our next meeting. If we put it on the agenda next time, if people want to give me any final feedback between now and then, I could make a vote then. Or if you guys are both prepared to vote and approve this today with the it sounds like you're pretty steadfast in your position, so.
Yeah, I'd be prepared.
I would move that we approve the general design of the memorial and the location in the southeast quadrant of the courthouse square.
And I will second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Discussion? My only discussion would be, as part of the motion, do we have to put it, or would you be open to saying that taxpayer dollars won't be used for the original placement of the,
I would be open to that, yes.
and then if this does pass today, then the county would assume maintenance going forward. But at least initially, there'd be no cost to taxpayers directly.
I will amend my motion to add that taxpayer money will not be used to fund the initial construction of the card.
Any other discussion on the issue? Okay. All in favor of moving forward with the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So,
To be fair for my end, I know you amended it, but you joined in the second for that amendment.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you guys for all the work you put into this.
Yes, absolutely.
anything else from,
No, we just want to make sure that, you know, if we go ahead and order the stones, even though it doesn't cost anything to go order, that we have a commitment, we're not, nothing come back at.
We're not gonna consider you back order.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would like to add, a lot of times it's human nature for the naysayers to come forward and not necessarily those that agree. Those that agree are probably quietly agreeing. Naysayers are usually the ones that do come forward. That's just human nature.
This person in the restaurant business, I understand that very well.
Yes, yes.
You can work with bagel was not cooked right.
Thank you. And Commissioner Rollins, do you have contact information, like an email address for Chris?
I do, yes. Yeah. You want,
Yeah, if you could, I don't know, do we have a draw, do you have, I think of these photographs were maybe emailed to me one time, but I don't know about the rendering. I was just gonna basically email him and say, can you send me a copy of this, electronic, digital copy? If you do, if you just forward that to me, I appreciate it.
well, and if I have it, I'll forward it, and you'll have your contact information.
Becky, or Councilwoman, I'm sorry, did you have any comments? Yeah,
I think you guys covered it.
I got it.
Yep.
Okay. I saw you were here, and I wanted to ask you, but I couldn't see you behind your head, I want to make sure you had it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, we're still getting a quote on that concrete bag.
Got it. I would have been the only one here. I'll probably be back. I was here today before. Why did you get out of jail? It's good. I'm gonna take it back.
It's very hard to know.
I guess we'll still do it on Sunday, we'll give everybody 5 minutes. Yeah, waiting for your next 6 months.
No, we usually said it to
Move it over. Unless your presenter's not here, they can get to it.
I don't feel bad about it.
We're almost done. I prefer to sit this down.
You've already talked.
Oh, I do want to talk before we go.
So it's a nice subject to change. Very, put that on the bottom.
So complete the reinstatement. Yeah. I'll be right back. So you're playing this.
I'm IT 88 director, Title 6, county engineer, subdivision coordinator.
General fund about the.
About general fund.
Just two commissioners, but I guess we don't have a motion to adjourn.
Not yet.
You guys have studies in the courthouse somewhere that
We can, if you want to see, and then we can say they're available in the office. Just take a look.
I'm guessing.
Do we have any?
Yeah, that's the reason I said I'll get on that.
We appreciate that, because I think it would get the word out positively.
Not just a hat.
Good deal. Thanks, guys.
Unlike me. See, that's the way you recognize me coming down the street.
Cause it's just someone goes.
Similar, just like I see the hat, I know where it is. I figured you'd like that.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's
nice to meet you.
And so I just sent you and he both something that Chris had sent me earlier. I've got this image on
Even
it.
if accurate
Yeah,
reasons.
you know,
Did have those images on it?
those images on it, and you should be able to glean their contact information from that as well.
The only thing, one thing I did notice about the design, I think we would have to be very cautious of putting biblical verses on.
Yeah.
You know, we are secular government, and I don't know about putting a Romans 5:18 or whatever on there.
And like I said, we'll have a chance to
Yeah.
review that, so.
Yeah,
Right now, we're getting the,
and I think there's ways that we can do both. Maybe just not reference it or something else.
sure, you can say the same thing in a different way. So is Caitlin Swink, or Cinderella, want to appear in person? I don't know.
I sent her the, course use agreement.
Okay.
I get phone numbers, I can't call.
Also, the next 15 minutes of YouTube is gonna be very riveting, right?
Mark, you're up.
Yeah, public comment, we'll take it earlier.
It's just Steve out there.
Budget hearings went good the other day. I mean, when I was there, they seemed to be going smoothly. Got everything lined up there, Sandy, that.
We're working on it.
What kind of flooring do you have in your, that is,
Was there a ceramic tile?
throughout the whole place? And it has the gravel and everything, it's not just a ceramic tile look, it's.
Most of that ceramic tile in the kitchen, but in the dining room, I have new vinyl, that's a commercial vinyl. Guaranteed, I think 15 years by the time it's gonna be out of style, so.
I was just wondering if you had like a coated concrete or something. I'm just looking at my construction.
That's what I wanted to do, but because we already had a tile floor in there to get to the concrete and smooth it to where we could do that, would have cost me more than this land before.
Right.
So.
Is what the contractor is recommending, is it epoxy coating, is that what it is? No?
Urethane.
Urethane.
I think probably would be a stronger coat, but
Epoxy is the best.
Epoxy is the best, yeah.
But what was, one of them at the meeting was talking about maintenance, and that it can wear off and chip off, and
Well-
was that epoxy or? was it-
I don't know what, I wasn't part of the meeting, but
Yeah.
epoxy gets slick too, you know, put incorporate a sand or some kind of mixture into it, I would think too.
My understanding is that every one of these floor coverings is going to have a smooth surface, which can be slick, and you can do an additive to any of them to make them as rough as possible. The rougher you make them, the harder they are to clean. The smoother they are, the easier are to clean, but they're the most slick. So you just have to choose a.
I know in my garage floor, I put an epoxy and I don't know how many pounds of sand it was per so many gallons of paint, but you know, then it gave it
Some grit.
some grit. Because when it was before, the original one that was on there, you walk out with wet feet, you're gonna bust your butt. My kids are constant to that, so I put just a little bit of grit on there and it helps. But like I said, it is harder to clean. There is a lot of truth to that.
So I had tile in the bar when I had it here, and I got this tile at a good price, and it had a little texture to it, so it was great for slip resistance, but then you run a mop over it, you got part of the mop hanging on to it. So you give and take there. If we had unlimited resources, we'd do epoxy everywhere and it'll last forever, pretty much. What I think, from what they've told me, what I've learned about like epoxy is what I think of it, like a thinking that maybe the Jackson Middle School had it, where it's poured down and sometimes it has little shiny pieces in it, or even at the courthouse, like, we have the small tiles everywhere, but the little pieces between the tile and maybe a segue, that would be an epoxy, like a solid surface and a clear thing put together, and it's super hard, and you don't really have to do much to it other than wax it, occasionally clean it, wax it. Whereas these other ones, I think, like the acrylic will be the entry level, which would be fine for your basement, where you have limited traffic. And according to RQAW, they put in 13 of their last jails, and it works okay, it's fine. So it's kind of a shop for things for your house. You can get a laminate top, or you can get granite, or you can get whatever, and that's kind of what these are. The urethane will be harder and will last longer. If we really want to spend a lot more money, the epoxy would last even more. You're paying a premium.
Yeah, I don't know, it's a tough call. And I think you made a statement at some point, in the end, we want a product that's good, it's gonna last. And, scrimping whatever here or there, and then you end up with something that's not as good, then you regret it in the long run. On the other hand, I look at it as this is kind of a way to save the contractor from having to, in other words, he doesn't have to be as careful going forward because he knows he's going to cover it up later on. And so are we doing it for his, or for their sake, or are we doing it for our benefit? That's the question.
Or is it getting sold? I think the way that they're kind of saying it is, we're telling you now, because these are the issues we've had. You want us to tell you whenever we come up with these, otherwise, like Mr. Schneider was talking about, there was another building locally that has a design issue. The contractor built it exactly as it was designed, and now they have to redo it. They're saying, we'll build it exactly as the spec lays out, but we're telling you now that other people have been disappointed with this the way it is. We're happy to do it exactly as it is on here, but these are a couple of the things that you may find disappointing at the end of the project. So they're not giving me a hard sell on it, but I do think it would help them and help us.
And
to the point where you're making.
Part of it was our desire to have local contractors who have a vested interest, they're local people and they're interested, and we hope that has some bearing on this as well.
They're not gonna give us a junky, they don't want to give us a junky product without us having the opportunity to.
When they walk away, they're still here. We had a contractor out of Chicago, give us what we spec and walk away from it.
The cheapest version of what we spec, and then they leave.
Nothing wrong with Chicago, or contractors from Chicago.
I took some time to search national people of what does stained acrylic look like, what does stained urethanes look like, and you can pretty much color that for any color you want. You can do it white, you can do black, when you go to the store for paint purchases, there's those things, they've got every one of those colors, you can do whatever you want. So it'll be nice. I appreciate Frank Kiefer with that outfit saying he'll give me some examples. They'll do what they have to do, cut part of their floor up, spread down enough of it so we can tell the difference, and I think that'll be helpful. And he's not giving me a hard sell either. He's just saying, the product you're getting will work. This product is a little bit better, and it'll do these, it has these benefits. And I think people are generally trying to be helpful. They're not trying to gouge the county or anything. But if we spend $70,000 more on this issue, I'm concerned that, will there be another building component that we could buy just a little bit better or something, and it adds up.
If they expect they expect urethane, right?
Acrylic.
Acrylic, okay, yeah.
guess it's on us to make sure we make the right decision.
I think I could probably live with both decisions. Hey, expect it this way, move forward, it'll be fine. Or if we do the other thing, I think at the end of a year from now, I think I'll be happier looking at it, but I'd probably be satisfied with whether.
Do you plan on looking at it quite a bit, or?
That's a guess. A day guess. Are you Kaylin?
Yes.
Come on down.
Sorry, were you waiting?
Well, we were ahead of schedule, so we
Okay.
were waiting, but it's not your fault.
Sounds good.
We're getting to know each other.
There you go. Do I hand this to whom?
I'm Sandy.
Okay. Hello. You looked familiar.
All right, what do we got going on?
Okay, so, well, I'm Kaylin Sendowick, and I am the new contact person for the Kids Day event that is held up here on the square annually. It is our 27th year this year, so that's exciting. It's been a long-running event. And it's the event where kiddos K through 12 make and sell their own products. And then, so we actually are having the square shut down this year, so that's going to be super helpful. And then we are requesting the use of the courthouse bathrooms. Those can be open so they can be utilized for those shopping, for those who are setting up and selling. It would just prevent them from having to leave the square or ask merchants on the square to use their restrooms. So if we can have those open, that would be fantastic.
I don't think we've ever had a problem with the children or any of these events tearing up the restrooms, so I think I wouldn't have a problem with having them available. You would, if we agree to move forward with that and grant your request, we would have to contact Scott Hope, who's our, the head of our maintenance, and you could work out the details with him if it passes.
I do send you copies of these when you approve them.
And if you put your phone number on the bottom of this as well, so he could have a way to reach you, that would be appreciated. Anybody have a problem with,
No,
restroom use?
I don't. But, I mean, this is something that's done in the past, I mean, it's not a new event, right?
It is not a new event. We're 27 years strong, so I'm just new to the event.
So who do you work with or for, or how do you get in charge?
My mother owns EJ and Dots, so I've worked for her since we've opened. I did serve 2 years as president of the Downtown Merchant Committee, and then you kind of get hooked into the other things as you step down from president, you're like, oh, what's next? So Ann Canese was our person before us as the contact. She owns Chocolate Bliss, so she was ready to step back, needed someone, so I was like, well, I guess it's me.
Congratulations.
So
Yeah.
this event is sponsored by the downtown.
Correct, yes.
So kids, whenever I've walked around, they've done everything where you can pay them to do an activity, or you can buy a craft and they'll sell you some food. I mean, it's just different kids do different things.
Yep, it is, I mean, from hand knitted blankets or little trinkets like anklets or something to, baked goods or anything like that. So I think it's neat that we're able to have it up on the square because they're kind of feeling like they're an entrepreneur. To have them down in the business district is kind of cool. Them to feel like they're important too. So.
And what day was it?
It is the 18th, September, Saturday, the 18th. 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Yep. And the actual event is only 10 to 2, but since we're shutting the square down, we're gonna have the barricades brought up. We'll kind of let the people who are setting up in and out, we'll close it down at 9:50. And then by the time we tear everything down, it'll be all free. So.
Okay. I would move that we approve the courthouse use for this event. Sorry. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Kaylin, thank you for your efforts for the community.
Yes.
I know how that is to get kind of roped into something.
Sure.
So just please, either Scott will reach out to you now that we've got your phone number, or I guess I will send him that.
Okay, I'll just wait to hear from Scott and then we'll move forward. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yes, you guys too.
Public comment? Nobody? from the commissioners? Auditor, attorney, highway?
Sir.
Okay, we'll close.
We don't want to have you, I don't need my umbrella. What's
I can set this down